Going back to White, the thing that impressed me, the three-point shot is the most obvious thing. But that's just simply the thing you did last year is going in now. You know, the stuff he's doing that's totally different is just the way that he's attacking and the way that he's getting to the basket. Before, I felt like last season, I felt like the only thing he could do trying to get to the basket was foul hunt, or he'd stop short and try to, maybe shoot a little floater, flat-footed. But he wasn't getting all the way to the cup consistently at all. And it felt like he didn't have any confidence in doing that. Now he's going in there. He's finishing strong. We've had a few dunks this year, switching to the left hand, really finding his spot and like getting all the way to the cup. And it's something he wasn't doing at all last year. That's something that he was advertised as being able to do better. And we'd seen him, some of the games he'd played with San Antonio and some of the clips, he was able to score in more ways than he did for the Celtics last year. So, I mean, that's as impressive to me as a three-point shot going down.
Yeah, the up and under in this one was one of the biggest shots of the game. I think that was when it was within single digits and there were a couple misses before it. So that was huge. And overall, he's had a strange year inside. I think his transition numbers probably stink because he's had a few bunnies that he's blown in transition right at point blank range that have been weird. But in the half court, he has done a good job getting downhill. He's a super willing screener, so that frees him up too, whether it's popping out to three or getting inside on those, rolling. He can make some secondary passes out of those spots. I really love how he's reshaped his game because I thought that was one of the biggest issues he had last year is he was the center of the world in San Antonio for all those years with the ball in his hands. I still love when the Celtics are able to get the ball in his hands more. He looks great when he has extra ball time. Off ball, he's not the best catch and shoot guy in the world, and he's setting a million screens. He's trying to figure out where he can fit in out there when he doesn't have the ball in his hands. So I think it's still to some degree, as much as they talk about confidence and getting adjusted to the city, I think it was getting adjusted to this offense where there's so many ball handlers too, because I just don't think that was the case as much in San Antonio, even though he was next to Murray. So there was some degree of that there, but not as much as there was here. I love what he's doing overall. I love him as a player. I still love that they went out and were aggressive as they did in acquiring him. I guess my only question is what's his role ultimately going to be on this team? Because when everybody's healthy, is he a starter? It's him, Grant, or Rob. It's one of those three. And I hope it can be him because I just love him with the starting unit, with how active he is, how good he's shooting, how much space he has to operate when he's playing next to Tatum and Brown. I mean, it's not like he'll have the ball in the second unit because of Brogdon. So I love him with the starters, and his shooting percentages were not great with that second unit.
No, it's weird. It's and that's the thing is when you get everybody and when Rob comes back, it actually wouldn't be stunning if there are some growing pains here in terms of what you're gonna do and how you're gonna do it. As much as me more than anyone, dying to see Rob come back, dying to see, hopefully the version of Rob that, you saw pre-injury last year and just what he's able to do and how dynamic he can be. I mean, we know what a ceiling
you might end up back in a situation, John, where you're like, why isn't Rob playing more? It might be back to 2021.
But part of me's nervous, right? Because it's offensively, they have such a good thing going, and so much of it is based on the fact that they can play with space, that they really are. And Brogdon said it at shoot around today. Josue was there, and the clips are on CLNS Media if you want to check it out. It's really the first positionless team I've ever played on. It really doesn't matter. We're just out there, and everyone's doing the same thing. And Rob's not that guy. I mean, obviously, Cornette's not one of those either, but Rob isn't. Rob has a very particular set of skills, and he's going to do one thing, but he is someone who defenses can shy off of because he's never going to shoot, and that.
Bad free throw shooter.
Yeah, he's not terrible, but again, he's not a guy who's going to look for his offense. He's going to be there for lobs, and that's about it. But it is going to mess with their space a little bit when he's out there.
Yeah, he just stands around the paint area if he's not rolling.
He just stands around. Pardon me. And if you go double big, that's going to change the dynamic offensively a lot. Because right now you've got either Grant or Derrick White in the starting lineup. Grant comes into tonight shooting 50%. Derrick White, we saw what he did offensively. They're just different in terms of what they're able to do for that team. So again, you're going to have a trade-off where there'll be times where and again, what's funny is the offense was better with Rob last year, but it was a different style of offense. I'm curious how Rob fits with what they're doing right now, and whether or not
high pick and roll. They're not that team anymore.
They're not that team anymore. It's a totally different thing. Now you got to integrate what he does into it. And again, we've seen it, as you mentioned, Bobby. Certain guys, when they play with the starters or when they play with the bench, they play differently. Grant, not as effective with the starters. He's been much better with that second unit. Derrick White's been better with the first unit, but overall, individually, the team has been better with Grant's been in the starting lineup, and the overall defense has improved. So Joe's still got a lot of mixing and matching to do. It'd be so interesting if Gallinari was around too. Like, how would he make it all fit?
There'd be no Hauser. Yeah,
there'd be no how. You'd have a lot less Hauser. So I am curious how it goes. I imagine
him, and I said this last show, he's gonna have to be Luke. And listen, if there's another Luke, I'll be as excited as anyone. But like, you look at the way Luke plays, I think it's very intentional. Like, I think that started in Maine. I think that played toward how they wanted to play as an offense. Ideally, last year, we're going through those growing pains. Ton of handoffs, ton of short roll passing, playing in the high post, screening. And that's a tough one for Rob. Luke's a great screener. Rob is not a good screener at all.
He's not.
And within this offense, like, you really are going to have to screen. So I almost imagine, like,
he's not. The off-ball screens have been such a huge part of this offense. Is where Rob's not great at. He's not a great screener.
He's a game changer defensively, and you're going to have to take as much advantage of that as you can. But it's gonna, I think, like, not only for health reasons, but for scheme and lineup reasons, it's going to be a more limited role Rob this year, I think. Like, his minutes are going to go down. I think he goes to the bench, and like, he has to adjust his game a little bit. And like, listen, I've talked to his camp a lot over the years. They know he needs to take steps offensively. Like, this isn't Dwight asking for the ball. Like, they know that he's going to have to expand his game. Maybe Joe will help him empower him to shoot more of those mid-rangers and some other stuff that we've talked about. But right now, I think, like, he's just got to be Luke. Like, take advantage of those 15, 20 minutes.
Luke,
get better at screening. No,
who's got to be Luke?
Rob's got to be Luke.
Rob's going to be a lot more than Luke, Bobby.
He's got to approach the game offensively like Luke.
I think the problem with – not the problem. He's going to do the same things Rob Williams did, but the team, when Rob is out there, is going to have to play in a way that utilizes – look, last year, for entire stretches, they didn't do things that utilized Rob's strengths. He often gets very forgotten on offense. I can see him very easily getting lost in this offense as well. But there's just a trade-off with what you have there because of what he brings there defensively and then rebounding and in the offensive glass. It's just going to make a difference. So when he's out there, it's going to be a different dynamic. You just wonder, just how it's going to look, which units he's best with. Is it better if he's rolling with that second unit? It's just how you're going to mix and match it there. Do you drop Horford to the second unit and just go with Rob? How's that going to, if defense is what you're really concerned with, how's that going to look? Would you go Rob and Grant in the starting lineup? So you've still got plenty of shooting out there. A lot of choices to make. It really is interesting. But as you said, you've talked to Rob's camp. They want him to evolve. They want him to be more. It's really hard to do when you're missing entire off seasons because you're rehabbing from injuries.
That was the real killer. Like, listen,
and that's the real killer.
We didn't care that he was going to miss a couple months. He missed the summer. Oh, and that's a killer when you want to see. Everybody got better on this team for the most part this year, coming into this year, it felt like. And Rob, he's kind of starting from square one once he gets back out there, conditioning. Like, we saw how he started last year. You didn't love it, John. So these are the things I'm expecting, not to mention the team he's walking into plays an entirely different style. And that's why, like, listen, everyone's freaking out about my Luke comment. It's just about approach. There's not going to be as much high pick and roll. There's not going to be as much him diving to the rim off of Tatum because Tatum's screening himself and he's in the lane making passes from the post and things that Rob would do before. So, like, where does Rob fit in offensively? That's going to be very important because this team's identity has changed, John. Like, their offense.
Completely. It's a different team. Rob's coming back and he's like, hey, guys, what are we doing here? Like, you didn't get the memo? Like, we do this now,
I'm super interested to see how it's going to go.
We whip the ball around the perimeter. We set a lot of off-ball screens and we shoot 45 threes a game. That's just what we do.
Yeah, how does Rob fit into that? Like, he really watch I know he sets a lot of screens. He doesn't set them well. He doesn't connect. He's always slipping because it's really his only offensive move. Luke sets great screens. Like, watch that next game. They're phenomenal. Grant has set better screens this year. There's been an effort across the boards.
I agree. It's a good problem to have. No one's saying like maybe they shouldn't
you can
play
sit
Rob.
Al for a game and start Rob. It's
no
great
one's
to have
saying
him.
Maybe they shouldn't play Rob when he returns. What we're saying is a lot has changed since Rob last played here, and the identity of the team has changed. Last year, when the identity was defense, missing Rob was huge. This year, of course, he's going to make a big impact defensively, but this team's bread and butter is the offense and the style of offense that they're playing, which definitely changes when Rob comes in, you know?
Yeah, the chat's not really loving my comment there, but I'll stand by it.
I just think you have to stop saying Rob and Luke in the same sentence as if there's
I'm not talking about defense. Rob is a million miles above.
I'm just saying as if anything about them is interchangeable. It's not.
Listen, on defense, Luke jumps in the paint to try to stop the shot.
Luke right now is a Band-Aid, and
Rob flies out to the perimeter. I'm talking offense. Like, that's again, where
there's just not really, you're not really comparing these guys.
I'm just talking about the approach. No, Rob's going to be a game changer defensively. You're going to have to find the spots to stick him in.
And we have to remember he's an outstanding passer.
Offensive rebounding too. He's great
offensive rebounding, and he's a great passer. It's just the space right now. The space.
And now, listen, I'm not saying he can't make the adjustments offensively to do these things, because he can. He has a huge body. He'll get better at screening. The passing, like you said, short rolls. He'll be great at those once he gets in that rhythm. And I'm sure they'll integrate some more high, like Brogdon. Come on, he knows what he's doing out there. He'll be running high pick and roll all day.
That's why I like him in that second unit with Brogdon. I think Rob's going to come in and get 5 dunks, right off.
Yeah, I'm just anticipating the adjustment. And when it comes to the starters, I think you want to leave White out there with those guys, and that'll change on certain nights. I'm sure if you're facing a double big team, you could go back to Horford and Rob to start. But with what White's doing this year in that position, I want him out there. Grant, we both in agreement he's probably better off with the bench. It's tough because the defense has been better with him out there with the starters. But if everybody's available and you can only pick one of Grant, White, and Rob, I don't know. Yep. Maybe it is Grant. It's Grant or White, I think. I think Rob's going to the bench.